Wayne Gretzky is known as the Great One, and his trade from the Edmonton Oilers to the Los Angeles Kings changed the NHL forever. Hi, I'm Rebecca Brayton, and welcome to WatchMojo.com. And today we're speaking with sports writer Stephen Brunt about Gretzky's tears. What made Gretzky the Great One?
There's no real precedent for Wayne Gretzky in hockey, and there's no one who came after him who plays like him. He's a one-off. He's like a great musician or a great artist. He reimagined the game in some ways and did that without huge physical gifts. And yet, something else about him allowed him to play hockey and to score goals and to set up goals and to see the pattern of the game, the larger game, better than anyone I think who had ever lived. So,
if you could start by giving us some background as to the lead-up to Gretzky's trade.
The Edmonton Oilers had just won their 4th Stanley Cup. Gretzky was acknowledged certainly by hockey fans as maybe the greatest player who had ever lived. Peter Pocklington, who owned the Oilers, was in financial trouble. He had issues. He was a wheeler dealer in his own right. And he also understood that Gretzky was he'd lose him eventually at the end of his contract. At the same time, a guy in LA named Bruce McNall had bought the Los Angeles Kings. He had money, or at least he had other people's money, and he had an idea, which was, what if we bring the greatest hockey player in the world to California, to Hollywood? What would happen?
The title Gretzky's Tears obviously refers to a very specific moment in his career, the press conference. If you could just kind of give us some background about that.
Everybody who was alive then in Canada remembers it was a watershed moment. You really remember where you were when you saw it. It was earth-shaking that Gretzky could be traded, and to see someone like him weeping in public, whatever his words said, he seemed to be saying something else by his tears. If you're a Canadian, you had to believe that he was being torn out of the country against his will. Why would somebody like Wayne Gretzky ever want to leave Edmonton? Why would he ever want to leave a perfect hockey team? Why would he ever want to leave us?
They say that the trade from Edmonton to LA changed the face of hockey. Can you kind of outline the ripple effects that we're still seeing today?
Bruce McNall's idea was that you could take the most famous hockey player in the world and sell him to people who didn't know anything about hockey. Then you could take that formula and spread it here, there, and everywhere and sell hockey to people who had no history with the game or no cultural affinity with the game. The fact is it worked in LA. People did pay attention and they did buy tickets, and the larger America paid attention. But what also came out of that for the NHL was a new business philosophy. Hockey would be sold to people who didn't know anything about hockey, but because it had this glamour and this star power now, it didn't matter. That's how the NHL wound up in Florida, and how it wound up in Texas, and how it wound up in San Jose, and it's definitely how the Winnipeg Jets wound up in Phoenix. Once Gretzky was gone, it didn't have staying power. It didn't really put down roots. It turned out to be more of a pyramid scheme than anything else.
Are we ever going to see another great one?
I think we're going to keep trying to invent them, because I think it's a powerful myth. I think we've turned Sidney Crosby into that, whether he's that or not. In some ways, we need that story. We need the next one to pop up, because it reaffirms for us something about what it is to be Canadian.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.